Have you ever stopped to wonder what happened during those 3 days between Jesus' death and his resurrection? It's a question that has fascinated theologians, scholars, and believers alike for centuries. We know he died, was buried, and on the third day he rose. But what about the time in between? Where did Jesus go? What did he do? Was he resting in the grave? Or did he take action, even in death? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the mystery of those 3 days, an event that some call the Harrowing of Hell, and explore the rich theological significance behind it. Let's uncover the answers together, and discover the profound lessons that these days can teach us about life, hope, and victory. Before we can explore what Jesus did during these 3 days, we must first understand the events that set the stage for them. Jesus, the Son of God, was crucified in one of the most brutal acts in human history. He hung on the cross for 6 hours, enduring unimaginable pain and suffering. And in his final moments, he declared the powerful words, "It is finished." John 19 verse 30. These words mark the completion of his earthly mission, his sacrifice for the forgiveness of sins, his victory over the enemy, and his fulfillment of God's plan for redemption. Everything was accomplished in that moment. After surrendering his spirit, Jesus' body was taken down from the cross by Joseph of Arimathea and laid to rest in a tomb. But the story doesn't end there. The question on all of our minds is, what happened next? The period between Jesus' death and his resurrection is shrouded in mystery. The Gospels give us limited details, mostly focusing on his suffering, death, and resurrection. However, there is a rich tradition in Christian theology that attempts to shed light on what transpired during those 3 days. One of the most common interpretations is based on the words Jesus spoke to the thief on the cross. In Luke 23 verse 43, Jesus says, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." These words strongly suggest that Jesus, upon his death, entered paradise. He went to be with the Father in heaven. But here's where things get even more intriguing. According to 1 Peter 3 verses 18 to 20, Jesus did something more. It says, "He was put to death in the body but made alive in the spirit. After being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits." What does this mean? The harrowing of hell, Jesus' descent into the depths. This passage in 1 Peter introduces a powerful idea. Jesus did not just go to heaven after his death. Instead, he descended to the depths, what many theologians refer to as Hades or hell. But this descent wasn't for punishment. Jesus, in his death, confronted the powers of evil head-on. Think about this. When Jesus died, he didn't just conquer physical death, he conquered spiritual death. He went into the depths of hell, not to suffer, but to proclaim victory over death, sin, and Satan. This is what's known as the harrowing of hell, Jesus' bold proclamation of triumph to those imprisoned spirits, believed to be fallen angels or disobedient souls from the time of Noah. You might be wondering, what does this mean for me? Well, think about it. Jesus went to the very places where the darkness seemed to have the final word. He ventured into the pits of despair and emerged victorious. The good news is, he offers us that same victory, no matter how deep our struggles might seem. Another passage that sheds light on Jesus' actions during these 3 days is found in Ephesians 4 verses 8 to 10, when he ascended on high. He took many captives and gave gifts to his people. What does he ascended mean except that he also descended to the lower earthly regions? This passage suggests that not only did Jesus declare victory in the depths, but he also gathered all the redeemed from paradise, those who had died in faith before his resurrection, and led them to their eternal home in heaven. It's as if Jesus, having completed his work on the cross, now went to release those held captive in the realm of the dead, and bring them into the glory of his victory. He didn't just stay in heaven after his death. He went into the dark places, into the places where evil once reigned. And he brought the captives, those who had waited in faith, into eternal life. In Matthew 12 verse 40, Jesus himself draws a parallel between his 3 days in the tomb and the story of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Jonah's time in the fish was a moment of transformation, where he was brought from darkness into light. Similarly, Jesus' time in the tomb wasn't just about waiting, it was about completing the work of redemption, about bringing light into the darkest places. Just as Jonah emerged from the fish to deliver a message of hope, Jesus emerged from the tomb to deliver the ultimate message of hope, that death no longer has the final word. So, what does all this mean for us today? What can we learn from these 3 days of mystery and triumph? For one, it reminds us that no matter how deep the darkness may seem, no matter how hopeless our situations feel, Jesus has already been there. He has already entered the depths of despair and emerged victorious. Think about the struggles you face, the burdens of life, the pain, the challenges. There are times when we feel trapped, when it feels like there's no way out. But the message of Jesus' death and resurrection is clear. No situation is beyond redemption. No darkness is too deep for God's light to reach. Jesus didn't just rise from the dead to conquer death. He rose to conquer every fear, every trial, and every spiritual enemy that we face. Let's apply this truth to our lives when we face hardship. We don't face it alone. Jesus has already been there. He's already conquered it, and he offers us his victory. As we close, let this truth resonate deep in your heart. Jesus' journey through death, his descent into hell, and his glorious resurrection was not just for himself, but for you, for me, and for all of us. He went to the depths, so we could rise with him. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed or defeated, remember, Jesus has already won. His victory is our victory, and in him, we are more than conquerors. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If this message spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe to Inner Light for more content that inspires and uplifts. May God bless you, and may you walk in the power of his resurrection.